All right, we are live. Thanks again for tuning in. This is our May 2016 edition of KBC Connects, where we speak with entrepreneurs and business leaders in the community to talk about their companies and also how digital marketing is affecting their business. And today, our guest is Tiffini Gatlin. She is the creator of Latch the Hook, which is a 100% woman-owned and operated beauty brand that offers safe, stress-free, and affordable products for women who wear protective styles. Tiffini joins us this evening to share her experience as a seasoned entrepreneur and, of course, some tips for success. And when I say seasoned, I do mean seasoned. Yes, you have tons of experience. So in terms of, we're going to get to some of that in a bit, but in terms of Latch the Hook, I wanted to delve more into detail about some of your daily routines, like the real nitty gritty, not the, the sugar coated stuff. Like you're launching a brand and you've been in this business a long time. So you've kind of made some mistakes and you've had some triumphs and all that. So with all that information, how are you approaching your business now? What are you doing daily to make this a success?
Well, I started Latched and Hooked, really the beginning of this month. So it's really, really new. And right now I am really trying to connect the brand to the consumer and having them to understand what the brand is, being that, and I'm sure we might get to this a little later, but I had another brand that was similar. And so now I'm starting over, and it's really all about relationship building and making sure there's an identity to the brand. So every day is me spending time really diving into, social media, really just trying to get an understanding of what my consumer wants, trying to find out, okay, today, where is my consumer? Is my consumer on Facebook? Is my consumer on Instagram? Are they on Twitter? And basically trying to figure out the language that I need to create to talk to them on a daily basis. And so it's really, if you go to my my social media pages, Latched and Hooked with the N, Latch, and then the letter N, Hooked, you'll see that basically on my page, I basically curate everything that's on my page. So that takes a lot of time for me to, find the right pictures, to choose the right captions, to figure out the balance between putting a kind of salesy pitch on my captions versus just kind of giving it more of an editorial feel. I never want to be pushy with my product. I really just want to create a product where people see it, they love it, and they want to go shop it versus saying buy, 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 buy. And it's really trying to create that delicate balance because, of course, I'm in it to sell. Of course, it's a business. But then at the same sense, I want to create relationships, long-lasting relationships with my consumer. So I don't want to beat them over the head with the product. I want to create a good product that they see, they like, they love, and they want to go buy. So really every day is getting up, figuring out, okay, what is my strategy today? How am I going to talk to them today? How is my customer feeling? If it's raining outside, I need to have a message that correlates with that, and how does my product play a part in that? So it's really all about how do I talk to my customer today? Just kind of like basic relationship. When you get up in the morning, if you have a spouse or you have a significant other, you're trying to figure out, how am I going to talk to them? How am I going to communicate with them today? And it's really the same way in business.
So a big part of your strategy is, it sounds like, authentic engagement, which is huge. Obviously in business in general, but now that we're so just ingrained in the digital space, it's a little more difficult because you don't have the body language and you don't have all these other tools that you have in person. So you have to be very careful, like you said, about balancing that act between obviously selling your product because you're in business, but also just having authentic engagement, wanting to know what your customer is feeling and then tapping into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I like to kind of think that even though I'm not necessarily physically with my customer, I like to feel that the images that I portray on my social media is a sort of a body language. It lets them know how we're feeling on our end. And and in turn, we want to evoke an emotion on their end. So the images that we put up, whether they're inspiration images or whether they're images from customers who are tagging us on pictures, we want to make sure that it evokes some type of emotion, whether it's an emotion that says like, oh, I'm beautiful, or an emotion that reaffirms who they are as a woman. Whether it, evokes the emotion to say, you know what, this is something that I deserve today, and so I'm going to make this purchase. So, it's definitely organic. It takes research to do it, and so it's a lot of work. I feel like when you have a business that's primarily on the digital platform, it's a lot more work because every platform is not created equally. So the way I talk to my customers on Facebook might not necessarily be the way I talk to my customers on Instagram. And so, I usually tell entrepreneurs when they ask me about, how they should go about starting their social media, I always just say, try to start with one platform, figure out where your consumer is the most. And I'll tell you, I started with Instagram, but very quickly over the last couple of weeks, I found out just through my analytics that most of my consumers were coming from Facebook. So I had to make a fast shift and say, even though I personally like Instagram, my customers are coming from Facebook. So you better get on Facebook and have a presence on Facebook so that they can find you. And so I started the Facebook. Now, if I had to do it all over again, I may have started with Facebook and then later on down the road added Instagram, because you want to be very careful with starting so many platforms and not being able to handle them. Because if you leave them and there's no presence there, then you lose your audience, because they're like, you know what, I've come for the last couple of days and nobody has posted anything on this page. And so you start to lose customers. So you just want to be careful about starting too many. I know it's exciting, but you just want to make sure you don't overload on the social media, and just really, hone in and perfect the social media platform that you're starting, and then move to another one at a later date.
I think that's a really great point. And I think that a lot of people within the industry and also outside of the industry, when they think of social media, they think they have to have this whole showcase of channels. And, part of my job is explaining that, okay, all of these have to be managed. So if you have 5 social media platforms, you have to keep fresh content on 5 social media platforms. And I don't mean sharing the exact same message across 5 platforms. You have to cater to that audience on that particular platform. And then that's when, the eyes get real big and they're like, so roughly, would you know about how much time you spend dedicated to your social media daily?
Honestly, probably about probably between 10 and 15 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah, the majority of my time is spent on my social media. It's spent on social media because, again, that's where, or let me just say that 10 to 15 hours is spent just literally on my computer online. And that time is spent between my social media, my email marketing. It's also, refreshing anything that I need to refresh on my website. And pretty much those things stay stagnant unless I'm adding new products. But yes, so I definitely, because, I'm just restarting this business, I use a lot of social tools to help me out, because right now, I don't have the capital to spend on employees. And, again, like you mentioned before, if you're going to start all those platforms, like if you start 5 platforms, you really need 5 different people to run those platforms, and not that one person running 5 platforms. Like, you have to diversify and making sure that you have the bodies to fulfill whatever social media streams that you're starting. And so right now, because it's me and 2 other people, we just I don't really have the capacity to keep one person on one thing. So I use social media apps that are out there to kind of help me. So for instance, like I'll use Schedulegram, and what that allows me to do is to pour in all of my images and my captions, and I can basically schedule out when they are to post. So I don't necessarily physically have to be behind my phone or behind my computer posting those images and those captions. I can just plan it out and post my images. I usually do sometimes between one image per hour or one image every 2 hours. Wow. And so I schedule that out so it can, go out. And that's, again, those things are curated, the photos are curated, the captions are curated, and it's just very organic. But yes, I spend, all that time basically, researching, looking at my competition, seeing what they're doing, analyzing, their messaging as well, because I just want to see, you have to stay on top of what your competitors are doing. And so I like to check in with them every now and again, see what they're doing, and just making sure that I'm kind of up to par, because being that I'm in the beauty industry and I sell hair extensions, specifically synthetic hair, I'm in an Asian dominated market. And so, and I'm one of very few that have entered the market to basically take it over. So I've got to, make sure that I'm relevant and my messaging is relevant. And then I've got to create and think outside the box on different things that I can do to engage, my audience, because the same, doing the same thing over and over gets stale and boring. So I have to come out with different strategies. So again, it's me online, literally. One thing I love to do is I love to look at brands that aren't necessarily even related to my market, but I like to see what other brands are doing. So like, for instance, I have children, I have 4 kids, and I love the brand Freshly Picked, which is a moccasin company for little kids. The owner, Susan, she's been on Shark Tank, and she's a great entrepreneur. And so I love looking at her page, seeing what she's doing, and just getting some inspiration and ideas from her page. And that just helps just to keep a fresh perspective. You don't always have to get ideas or perspectives from someone in, other brands in your own industry. You just want to, go out there and diversify, your research, and come back and kind of put a plan together.
I agree. I think that's a huge point, and that's part of my creative process actually, is to kind of look at brands that are sometimes outside of the realm of what I'm working on, just to kind of disconnect from it, and then just come from a fresh perspective and look at what they're doing, and something almost 100% of the time, something will click with me and it will become applicable to what I'm doing. I can always translate it into, what I'm doing. And I think that's kind of an authentic way to go about the creative process, because it's fresher. It's not so insular. You can really just kind of get clear on what it is you're trying to convey with your message. So I want to backtrack a little bit. Talk to me about what you did before you started Latch the Hook. What are some of your businesses that you've started before Latch the Hook, and how does it differ from what you're doing now?
So I'll go way back. So before I actually became an entrepreneur, I was in banking for almost a decade. I was Assistant Vice President of Consumer and Small Business Sales. So I worked from everything from in the managing banking centers and ironically small businesses, and helping small businesses create accounts, and homeowners and homeownerships and home equity lines of credit, and delinquencies with credit cards and loans. So I did that for almost a decade. That's what I did when I came out of college. And then I decided that it wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so, after talking to my husband and reassuring him that, look, I can do it. I can be an entrepreneur and make money. I left, and I actually entered the world of blogging, and I started as a blogger before I even knew what blogging was. And just built a name for myself in the blogging world, and really networked and connected with great brands, other bloggers in and around Atlanta, in and outside of Atlanta. And I've worked on lots of different campaigns: Lexus, Disney, General Motors, Comcast, just a lot of different brands that I've been able to afford the opportunity to work with over the years. As I was writing, I had got an idea. I said I had a blog, but I wanted to, I always have in mind that I want to do something different. Like, if everybody's doing it, even if I get into the mix, I want to make mine a little bit differently. So I said that I wanted to start a magazine, but I decided to do a digital magazine, and I started Tastemaker Magazine. And it was a digital mag for millennials, and I wanted it to be, a destination where young millennials can come and get lifestyle articles, and it can basically be on the go, so they can access it from their mobile phone or their computer or wherever they are. I want it to be wherever they were. So that was my reasoning for doing a digital magazine, and it was a flip mag. And I taught myself basically how to do InDesign, how to create on InDesign, how to create on Photoshop. And, and I wanted to create beautiful images, great stories. And I did that for about 5 years. And after that, I started a beauty brand, Curl Colon Hair Collection. And really, me starting Curl Colon Hair Collection came out of me actually, I'm always have like these little side hustles, because I believe that you should diversify your coins.
Yes,
okay?
Indeed.
So, it was a funny story. My husband told me we were going to Mississippi. This was in 2000 and the end of 2014. We were going to Mississippi for the holidays. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in Mississippi for a week. I've got to figure out something to do. So, I have been doing protective hairstyling since I was 16 years old in my mom's basement. That was my way of getting extra money. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to, I had just started getting into learning how to do crochet braids. And I said, I'm going to set up some appointments when I go to Mississippi. So I had my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law and my husband's cousin to talk to all their friends. And I was able to set up 9 appointments when I got down to Mississippi. And I thought to myself, like, oh my gosh, like, I really made like a really nice sum of money. So before I left Mississippi, I literally was sitting on my mother-in-law's couch, and before I left Mississippi, I had made me a website where you can actually book me to get your hair done.
Wow.
So that's gonna be my side hustle. So when I came back to Atlanta, I literally had a website where you can actually go on and book me to get crochet braids. But as I was doing hair, they always say, like, when you create a business, if you can create a business that helps to solve a problem, you'll pretty much be successful. So that was how basically Curl Colon came about. I realized that it was dangerous as a stylist to roll your customer's hair up and dip it in the hot water, which is how you actually get the style, which is what I'm wearing now. And so the old way of doing it, you have all this hair, you brush it out, you roll it up, you dip it in hot water. It was dangerous. I didn't want to get sued. Plus, it was very time consuming. So as, a businesswoman, in my head, I'm thinking, how can I book more clients? And to book more clients is I need to be able to get through this process faster. So I thought of doing pre-curled hair, where the hair is already pre-curled, so the consumer can just basically take it out of the box and install the hair. I partnered up with someone. We launched the business. Literally, we made $250,000, and we started the business in January 2015. We didn't start selling our first curl until April of 2015, and we made $250,000 by October. Wow. So that lets you know that women, they wanted it. They wanted it. They wanted this stress-free way of being able to apply the hair. Stylists, they wanted it because it was a way that they could book more clients. So it was a phenomenon. Unfortunately, my ethics and my business goals didn't align with my partners. And so I decided that, you know, I wanted to branch off and start another brand where I could have the control. I could, you know, I could have a company that was in line with my own values. And for me, the customer is always first. I come from a customer service centric background. And so, you know, the customer is always at the forefront of my head, not even sales. Like, I believe that if you create something that the consumer wants, the money is going to come. So that's never been you know, a problem for me, or something I said, you know, I'm doing this for the money. Like, no, I wanted to do it because I truly wanted women to be able to experience having a stress-free and affordable way to do their hair. And then also too, I wanted to basically take back, you know, what I feel that, you know, Black women, you know, we created. You know, I wanted to take back that market and say, you know what, I want to create styles and products for women that look like me. So basically, you know, a forest bias situation. So, you know, even though the relationship did not work out with, you know, with me and my former partner with Curl Salon Hair Collection, I learned a lot. And it has afforded me the opportunity to talk to other entrepreneurs and help them through my story, with hopes that they don't have to make that same mistake. You know what I mean? They'll make others, but they don't have to make this one.
But also the other lesson in your story too is how to move on. I mean, your situation, for most people, that would be the end for them. And they would, you know, run for the hills and run back to the safety, quote unquote, of a job or what have you, when there really is no safety in either.
Right.
But, you know, somebody going through what you went through, that could be devastating, and it could cause them to just give up. And you did not. You pressed forward, you moved on, you regrouped, and you rebuilt.
You know, I don't want anybody to get the indication that it was easy for me, like that I just got up the next day and was like, forget that, I'm going to start my own company. No, it wasn't like that. You know, I literally, you know, I was 7 months pregnant when my partner and I, you know, going back and forth, and we're still, you know, in legal, back and forth legal wise with it. But it was very devastating to me because, you know, when you create something, and for me, when I came up with the idea and I approached, you know, my partner with this, sometimes you come up with ideas that literally scare the hell out of you. You know, it's so big that you're like, where do I even begin? You know, and instead of me actually, you know, going forward with the vision that I feel like God gave me, you know, I shared that vision, which is not, I don't have a problem with that, but I think I did it more so because I was afraid of where it could go. I was afraid of it being a success. I was afraid of trying to figure out how to start. And I feel like this second chance that I have, all I'm doing is basically going through all of my fears, but by myself.
Right.
So all the things that I was scared to do, I'm having to do them now. I'm having to approach all those things. It's just, you know, it's a tad bit easier just because I already have the blueprint. You know, I know where to go. But it's me stepping out of my comfort zone. You know, and a lot of times in business, you have an idea, you want to do something, but you're so scared of the idea because, you know, you think it might work, you know, that it almost seems easier to have somebody go through it with you, you know, because at least if you fail with someone, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I have learned that, you know, you just got to do it, you know, and after I got out of my pity party and me being sad about the whole thing and all of that, I did have to make a decision. I could either continue to bitch and moan about the situation, or I can, take all the visions and ideas and creativity that I had and just move on to something else. Not forgetting that the situation, and whatever went on was wrong, and, people have to learn a lesson, they will. And, if you do something wrong and you do something unethical, you have to pay for your mistakes in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But then you also have the ability to grow and move, upward and onward. And that's what Latch and Hooked is about. It's about me moving, upward, onward. It's about me adding, more products to my product line. It's about adding a philanthropic side to my brand, which is something I've always wanted to do. So now I have that opportunity to do that. Great collaborations, and just taking all of the relationships that I've made over the years and being able to creatively apply those. And so I'm more excited now than I was when I started any other business that I have, over the last, 7 years or what have you. So it's a good time. It's a good time for me.
Now, let's talk about Latch the Hook. What exactly, it opened May 13th, correct?
Well, so yes, it opened for business on May 13th. I started and incorporated and all that on May 4th. And then I opened on May 13th. So that just shows you how quickly I was moving.
Moving. Get it moving.
So, yes.
And so kind of explain is it a digital beauty supply store? Or what exactly is it for people that don't know?
So Latch and Hooks is a destination for women to come to get get everything that they need in one place, to basically take their protective hairstyling to the next level. So, now, nowadays you might have to go to the beauty supply store to get, your combs and, your latch hook needles and your, weaving needles and your extensions and your shampoos and all of that. And so at the end of the day, what I want to happen is for women to be able to come to Latch and Hook and be able to get all the tools, all the products in one place. And it's not a beauty supply, but it's just I like to say it's a destination. It's like a one-stop shop where you can come and confidently know that the products, are created with you in mind. And so over time, more things will be added into the shop. But right now, the original curl, which is what I'm wearing, is in there. We have braiding hair that comes in, really exotic colors and ombre colors. We have luxe styling tools, so not your everyday styling tools, but really beautiful styling tools that kind of take your wash day to the next level and take it basically from dreadful to a fun, enjoyable time. And everything literally is, it's going to be added, keeping in mind of what women have to do to get ready for that next protective style. So it's about making things easier. It's about making things affordable. It's about, giving women what they crave. And then it's Black owned, and it's 100%, woman and Black owned and ran. And knowing that should give women, that peace of mind to say, hey, I'm really buying into a community of other women who, just want a stress-free and affordable way to wear their hair. And I like to think of extensions as an accessory. It's just kind of like earrings, a necklace, a ring that you put on. You some days you feel like this, some days you feel like that, and whatever that is for you is what I want Latch and Hook to be. I want you to come there, and when you shop, you don't feel guilty about the purchase that you made. You don't feel like you have to save up for months to buy the product because it's affordable. It's synthetic, but the synthetic fibers are made, with care, and are built to last for an extended amount of time. And it's not your 99-cent hair. It's really crafted, to last, several months. And, you don't feel guilty if you have to throw it away and buy something else, so.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to see more about it. And I'm always keeping up with you, obviously. I'm lightweight stalking you all over Instagram because you always have such wonderful content. And it is inspirational. It is like it puts you in a certain mood, the post. And I think it's a really good balance of inspiration and business. And I think your audience probably appreciates that when people are still, you have some brands that still don't get that and they just push and you're like, okay, like we're in a whole new era right now. I don't need to be, the hard sell is like not working, especially in the digital space. So I think you're doing an awesome job with that and I'm very excited for you. What is next? Like, what do you have coming up? It's summertime, there's expos and festivals and things like, what do you have coming up?
So I will be in New Orleans during the Essence Music Festival. This will be my second time attending the New Orleans Natural Hair Expo. But it'll be my first time attending with Latch the Hook. So I'm really excited that I get to introduce myself under my new beauty brand and make the products available to consumers in person. I love that type of environment because I really get to connect with the consumer. I really get to talk to them. I really get to understand what their needs are so that I can come back and say, okay, I need to create something new, or I need to change this, or whatever it is, just by listening to them. So I'm really excited about that. And really, I'll be looking into other expos that I can, get to. I'll be looking to do workshops, crochet workshops, and introduce.
Oh, wow.
Workshops because that hasn't happened. And so I really want to introduce workshops about crocheting and different braiding patterns that people can use to, to get the look that's most natural using crochet hair. And and again, just continue to expand the brand with new products. I don't have a 10-year goal at this point. I know some people are like, I'm going to do this in 5 years. I'm going to do this in 10 years. What I've realized over the years and just having different businesses and just doing different things, it's like you really have to be in the moment of the day that you're in. And yes, I do plan for tomorrow and maybe even up until next week. But I really want to be in the moment of what I'm doing today because tomorrow may not be promised. I may not be here tomorrow. And so I really want to enjoy what I'm doing today. I want to enjoy this moment. And I'll get to tomorrow and I'll get to next week, but I just really want to enjoy what I'm doing today. And at the end of the day, I want to look back and say, you know what, I did a pretty good job today, and it could or could not be reaffirmed by what your customers are saying. But, I think that every business owner should have an indication of what success looks like to them for a day. And at the end of the day, be able to look at that and say, you know what, I was successful today, and then go on for tomorrow.
You know what? That's really good advice. And that's something that I'm trying to get better about is celebrating the small wins. My track record, constantly, I was the I'll be happy when person in business and my personal life. I'll be happy when I land this type of client or when X, Y, and Z happens. And I noticed that, well, when are you there's always going to be a win. So are you going to celebrate today or are you going to just keep kind of waiting for this big aha moment? And it really kind of hit home when I was pregnant last year with my first and only kid, my baby girl. And I remember having that with the pregnancy. Oh, I'll be happy when we get the tests back, those first round of tests to make sure she's okay. And then that happened and it was like, well, I'll be happy and it was like, you know what? This is a life. Like you have to stop doing this.
And what happens is you miss all the, like you said, the small things, you miss those things. Yep. And you never get to enjoy, you never get to be in the moment of that because you're so busy trying to anticipate the next.
Absolutely. And so I've been very good about incorporating that in my professional life as well. I celebrate the small wins. If I land a client, maybe it's not the dream client or it's not whatever, I celebrate the small wins. And it's very important. It helps to keep the morale up, actually, as opposed to constantly waiting for this big event to happen. Celebrate the small wins. So I think that's an awesome lesson. Now, before we close out, we have this lovely little gem here of a young Tiffini. And so this is you in high school, yes?
Yes. Ninth grade.
Ninth grade? Wow.
Yeah. I went to prom with someone's junior prom. I was in the ninth grade, so yeah.
Now, if you had to give some words of wisdom and advice to ninth grade Tiffini, what would you say?
I think I would say to be more, basically, don't take no for an answer. Keep going back. Keep doing more. Keep going after everything that you want to do. Like, don't put yourself in a box and say like, oh, you can only be this, or you can only do this. Like, whatever it is that you want to do it, and do it while you're young. And don't wait till like you're older and have kids, because it's so much easier like when you're doing it at high school age, or when you're doing it at your college level, versus when you're 35 trying to do it. So I would say don't be so nervous about it. People are gonna say no, but go back and show how persistent you are and how much you want it, and just keep going after it.
Well, I think that is a really great note to end on. I think that's a lesson for all of us, actually, to just stay persistent and keep going back. I mean, in this day and age, it's no reason not to keep trying. The barriers to entry for almost anything are so low. A no, it means nothing. You just have way too much access and way too much information to just settle for a no about anything. You just have to keep going. So I thank you for your time, and I'm excited to see what Latched and Hooked goes on to bring, and we'll probably check in again.
Yes, thank you so much. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed speaking with you, and yeah, please have me back, because I'm sure by the end of the year, we would have gotten into so many things.
And I am very sure of that as well. So the way you move, you make moves quick. You do not waste time. So we'll definitely have to check back in and see how the summer went. You have a very busy season coming up, so I'm anxious to hear about how everything goes. But thank you so much for your time, Tiffini, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.